everyone, Paul ISM. Welcome to part 3 of our Tamiya 124 BMW M635 video build. So, back today, we're going to concentrate on our interior today. This is going to be a 4-part video. So part 3 we're going to do all the interior. We've got quite a bit of work to do. We've got lots of painting, masking, flocking to do. I had to pick my colour as well, which if you've been following on Facebook you have already seen. If not, you're going to see in a little bit. Multitude of choices of colour on this, and found one I'm very happy with, so you'll see how that looks at the end. We've got loads of masking to do as usual, but yeah, that's going to be the focus today. We're back in part 4. We'll get it all put together and get this project finished off, and then we'll have a chat in our next bench update about what's next. Yeah, so interesting. So let's get straight in with the build. Before we get going though, watch this first. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the little bell notifications, get notified of all our latest videos. Click the like button and leave a comment. I do read and reply to all the comments and appreciate everybody that takes the time to leave a comment on the channel. And of course, if you scroll up in the description, there's a link to a big long list of all the items I use in my videos. So if you see anything, you should be able to find it in there. So we'll start today off by cutting some parts off the sprue. And if you saw that there, I actually cut a part off I need. We have to glue that back on in a bit. But I'll show you how we did that. A little bit eager. And also, I think I was live on a Sunday or a Wednesday doing this. I can't remember now. But distractions are what they are. And yeah, mistakes happen. So we're cutting all the sprue parts off basically for our interior today. There's not a huge amount of parts. There's quite a lot of work to do. But we're going to cut them all off. Get them all assembled in sub-assemblies for paint, etc. And then we've got some flocking to do, loads of masking to do. Yeah, it's a busy day. So it's not the most detailed of interior, and it's all one tub as you can see. And I've cut off one of the mounting points at the back. A little bit too eager. Cut it off the sprue, thinking it was a sprue mounting point, and then realised, oh, it's a bit of the kit. So we cut it off the actual sprue. And we're going to put a little bit of Tamiya extra thin on it to get it in place. Once we're happy it's all lined up, we'll go over with the Tamiya extra thin again, leave it to dry overnight, and we'll be back in business. Silly mistake, but things like this happen. We're not paying attention, so always pay attention to instructions and what you're cutting off. I've done this many times over the years, and I'm sure I'll do it again. It's just one of those. Luckily for this, it's not a visible part. It's just a part to hold the interior to the body. So the obligatory UMP sander shot. So we've got our 220 sponge. Use this on all our curved edges. Just light sander work to remove any seam lines or excess plastic. This is an older kit. So it is not as clean as some of the newer kits. So we hit it with a sponge. Once we're happy, we'll come with our buffer using the blue side first. Then the white side to buff it to a high shine. So only use the sponges on rounded edges. If you use them on square edges, you end up ripping them. If you have anything that needs, if you're sanding on a square edge or a flat edge, use one of our customizers like this, cut to size. Then the sponge, then the buffer, or use a thinny stick of the appropriate grade. As you can see, the seats do have some pretty nasty seams all around them. Like I say, it is an older kit. The Tamiya older kits are not quite as polished or as good as the newer ones, but back in the day they were the market leaders. And even older kits like this, I think this is like 35 years oldish, this kit, 35 years old. It's still a damn good kit. So just pay attention, get rid of all those seams. We've got the seat backs to glue in place on this. I did wonder about leaving these black because some interiors of the 635 show the black plastic backs rather than colour matching it to the leather. But I thought, no, we'll do it all the same leather interior colour. We've got black accents here and there anyway, which we'll have to mask up for in a little bit. So we'll glue all these in place and we can prime and paint them together and get them all the same interior colour. Now colour, what colour should I do? So black would have been a nice colour to contrast with the silver, but it's a little bit boring. We clamped the seats there as well. We'll leave those overnight. Another colour I did contemplate was blue. I had a beautiful BMW 740 in 2002, whatever it was, and had beautiful blue custom interior leather, and it was stunning. absolutely beautiful, but I didn't find a blue colour that I particularly liked. Now, when we were doing the 959 build, the 16 scale Fujimi kit, I was looking at the colours, and I didn't have many colours for interiors, and we contemplated red, but I didn't have the correct red. When I looked through my paints properly, I realised I did actually have a red, and we'll see that in a minute. So because we're going to paint in red, we're going to prime in pink. We've got UMP's pink primer. Now, I have lightened this with a little bit of white to get a lighter pink, because it just suits my colours better. You can spray out the bottle. Out the bottle, it's the colour it is on the top of my bottle, up top right. And then down below you can see my colour I've mixed with a little bit of white, just to make it a paler pink. Just to give it a more neutral tone, rather than being a really dark red colour. So we'll put a 0.35 apex, 25 psi. Again, if you're new to UMP primer or any paint, put everything on in thin coats first until you get used to it. I know just how far I can push this before it'll run or it'll start to separate, and it's several light coats. As you can see, it covers really, really well. There's no issues there at all, but just take your time. If you're not used to painting it, take your time. Now, we do have black parts. The steering wheel's going to be black, but black will cover nearly any colour, no problem at all. So I thought, rather than changing primers unnecessarily, we'll prime everything in this pink, and we'll be good to go. So again, just nice light thin coats. Probably do 2-3 coats overall. Let it dry for 5 minutes in between each coat. And as you can see, there's our third coat. We have a nice pink interior. We could always leave it this colour. That would contrast well with the silver. But I think I prefer the red colour I've got in mind. So again, here we go. Second, third coat on the seats. And again, covers really well. Beautiful primer ours. Does cover really well. It's pretty safe with lacquers. Well, it's really safe with lacquers. And I don't tend to have many issues at all. You just got to learn how to use it. The appropriate pressure, appropriate needle size. Keep your airbrush clean. And keep the paint out of sunlight. They don't like sunlight. Not a lot of liquids or items do like UV rays. So keep it in the drawer or out of the way. So we have Zero Paint Bordeaux Red. Now this would have been the perfect interior colour for the Porsche 959 had I spotted I'd seen it and then not spilled it all over my bench like I've just done. But, oh yeah, there's a drip of paint there. So we're for our 0.35 apex, we're about 15 psi. And we're now going to do nice thin coats. Again, this paint you need to learn how to use. If you spray it on too thick, it will react with the plastic, not the primers everybody keeps saying. It will craze right through the plastic and basically wrinkle it all. So nice thin coats are the key, low pressure. This is probably going to take 5-6 very light coats to do. Again, it probably looks like I'm putting it on thick. It's not, it's the camera. Because the paint's going on fresh, when we come back for a second coat, you'll see you've not quite got the coverage it looked like you did in the first. It's just because you put the fresh paint on. You don't want wet coats, you want nice dry coats. And trick and control the airbrush here is key. Just take your time, put it on nice and thin, come back with multiple coats. Don't aim for one coat or, thinking I'll get this in 2 or 3. I will often put 5, 6, 7, even 8 coats on a car body. So just take your time. Patience is key as always. And just build it up nice and slow. It's a beautiful colour as you can see. Moving on to our seats. Again, nice light colours. Spinning the subject as you go. You can see how light I'm putting it on. Really no heavy coat going on there at all. And just let it flash off for 5 minutes. And you can come back and put your other coat on. And as with most things, by the time you've got around all the other parts, 5 minutes is up. You can come back and start putting your second coat down. So build it up. It's a beautiful red. I really, really do wish I'd spotted this colour for the 959. I think with that graphite silver, it would have looked beautiful. But hey ho, it's one of those things, and I'm pretty sure it'll look nice with this silver in the BMW. There we go. After several coats, we've got a nice deep red interior now. It's looking really good. No reactions at all. Not a problem at all. It's just learning how to use the paint. It's not my go-to paint. I've had issues in the past with it eating the plastic in the way I've just described, and some colour matches as well. But I am well invested. I've got about 80 bottles of Zero, so they are getting used as and when I can. So they've been left to dry overnight. We're back the following morning, and we're going to mask up all our dashboard. So looking at online pictures, the top half of the dashboard is usually black or grey. The bottom half is colour coded to the leather in certain places, and then around the instrument dials, the heater, radio controls, etc., it's all black. So we need to mask all this. Quite fiddly masking. We're using the Azus from the 0.4 all the way up to the 2.5mm. Excellent masking tape, ultra thin, pre-cut, ready to go. Works really well. We sell this at UMP Retail, as we sell most of the products I'm using here. And it does work well. Once we've got the finer details masked up, we'll come back in with some 6mm Tamiya tape. Always cut a nice square edge, so you've not got the ripped part there. De-tack it as always, once or twice on your fingers, or if you're a lunatic, do it on your forehead. Don't laugh, it does work. Just anybody sees you doing it, they think you're a bit mental. So, looking where we need to mask, we can now go up to our thinner Azu tape and start to mask up the rest that needs to be left in red. And this will be the case for all around this part. Then we need to do the cockpit tub. I call them cockpit tubs, I always have. It's the interior tub. And there we go. So that's masked now, ready for some semi-gloss black. So hopefully we won't get any bleed through. And hopefully it'll look pretty decent once it's done. Onto the interior now. We need to mask off the upper part of the door cards. They are black on nearly all the cars I've looked at. There's other areas we could do black as well, but on this I decided to leave it colour coded with the leather. And then we're going to flock the rear partial shelf and the carpeted areas on the floor as well. So again, we've got the 2.5mm Azu tape. Brilliant tape this, absolutely just top quality stuff. It's as good a quality as Tamiya, different sizes. I also used the Tamiya thin tape as well, but because we had the Azu out doing the thinner masking, this was already on the bench. So it's a case of popping it in, putting it in place, and then you can use a knife to cut to the edges, or you can burnish them in, whatever way you want to do it. Once we've got all the detail areas done, again we're back in with the 6mm and the 10mm Tamiya tapes to infill all the rest of the areas, using the back smooth edge of our tweezers to make sure it's all burnished down. So the aim here is to paint some of the black work around the edges and the dial console buttons as well. As you can see here, we've got all those console buttons masked off in the middle. And now we're just infilling the rest, so we can spray those in semi-gloss black, unmask it, and then we should have a nicely masked interior tub. So as always with masking, it can take hours to put on and literally 30 seconds to take off. When you're removing masking, be very, very careful. Even though you've de-tacked it, don't be ripping it off. Really take your time. Pull away from the model with the tape, like so. Don't be pulling it at arm's length. And yeah, just go around, unmask everything. And once you're happy, oh, got a paper cut. Once you're happy with it, we can crack on with our flocking. So, multitude of different sizes here. Yeah, I've got a paper cut on my finger there. It's concerning me. Shocking. Once we've got all this off, we can flock it. But like I say, we used a multitude of the masking tapes here. 0.4 all the way up to the 2.5. It gets right in between all those buttons. It's masked off. It's sprayed. Absolutely beautiful. Once we let it dry overnight and we've got the flock down, come and put a bit of a wash on it to kind of blend it all in and highlight the areas. So we're going to flock it now. This is the next day, I think. Might be the same day. Actually got the same watch on. That's a good clue on the different days with me. I wear a different watch every day. We've got some red Revel enamel paint. We've got a nice flat Tamiya brush. I'm just going to brush everywhere gently and carefully. We want our flocking to go. So we're going to leave those, I think they are speaker housings behind the back headrest. I know in BMW there's probably a first aid kit in there as well. But we're going to paint all around carefully. There we go. Nice and gentle. Let me go round and make sure we got a nice wet coat of the enamel. The first coat does tend to dry quite quick, but we just want it to be nice and tacky for our flocking. So I had 3 reds for this. I had like a reddy orange colour, I had an apple red, which was very similar to the actual leather colour, and then I had a crimson red. And speaking to everybody I speak to, the majority chose the crimson red. So that's the colour we're going to go. It'll contrast against the red of the leather, and hopefully give us that nice carpeted look we require. When doing this, if you put a bit too much paint on, just dab it off on a bit of tissue. Just remember, everywhere you get paint is everywhere the flocking will stick. So there we go. These embossing powders are a bit tricky to find in different colours. I've had to search far and wide on the internet for different colours and shades and what have you. You can get black on Amazon, but a lot of these are from craft shops, and I got lucky and bought the last few pots of this one that were on sale. So there's no point me giving you a link. But any flocking, well, embossing or flocking powder will do. As you can see, first coat's on. It's not quite covered as well. I'm just repositioning my camera because my battery died. I was still using my battery then. We're now plugged in. So let that dry for 15-20 minutes and then come back in with a bit more of the enamel paint and just gently apply it over the flocking. It should be sufficiently tacked down by the enamel now to not pull it all off. And we're just going to load it up again. I find a second coat over it works wonders. And again, just take your time. It will start to absorb a little bit into the flocking, so make sure you're very careful where you apply it. Don't put it on too thick. But second time around, this will get it. I've often tried different methods. I know a lot of people use X22. I've tried it before, wasn't too happy with the results, but maybe we could try it again. And some people use PVA. Maybe I should do some test spoons. We do a bit of testing and see what works well. I think we'll try that next time. But again, just carefully around everywhere we've flocked. Make sure we've got enough. And we come back. Now in hindsight, I should put some tissue paper down. I normally do. I forgot today, but it's easy enough. We just tip it off the mat into the kitchen paper and then back into the pot at a later date. Don't worry about anything you spill. You can pick it all back up, and it will use very little of this. You will get a dozen or so cars out of this easily, and the embossing powders cost between £5 and £8 a pot, so it's not too bad really. So this time we just lightly pat it down. Once we're happy with that, we tap the body, and there we go. Much better. You will end up with powder where you don't want it, but as long as there's no paint on it, it won't stick. Another tap will get most of it off, or you can come back when it's dry with a brush and brush it off. But what we got here is where I've pushed the actual embossing powder in, it's just squoze, is that the right word? Out a little bit. So we're just going to get a cocktail stick and just take off the high spot, pushing it back, and there we go. Give it a tap again and just go around. Make sure your demarcation's nice and smooth. And there we go. So there's the partial shelf done. Happy with that. Not too bad at all. It's not the best flocking I've done. The interior part now is a bit more tricky to do because all the door cards are already in place. So it's a case of take your time, do the best you can. Don't worry about where the seats sit because that can't be seen at all. But again, just make sure you got it down wet enough. And then pop our embossing powder in. Again, don't be worried how much you put in, because you're not going to waste any of it. You're better to put too much in than too little. There we go. Give it a tap. Get seated everywhere we want. A little bit of a shake to make sure it gets right around to all the edges. Have a little bit of a look. And then we can pat it down lightly in places. Make sure your enamel paints you're using are the matte variety. You don't want gloss because the gloss will show through. You want this carpet to stay nice and matte, just like the real counterpart. Once you're happy, turn it over, tap it out. And there we go. Not too bad. Not bad coverage there, but we'll go over that again. This is the second time around now. Just putting a bit more embossing powder at the back. And there we go. Pretty happy with that. It's not the best I've done. Like I say, pretty tricky on these enclosed tubs. but it is what it is. Now, on the dashboard, there are no dials with the kit at all. So we've got some Tamiya grey panel liner, their enamel wash. We're just going to apply it to all the recessed areas around the dials, around the radio, heat controls, any grills, etc. We'll then leave that to dry, and then the following day we'll come in with some odourless mineral spirits, remove the excess, and it should hopefully leave some nice detail behind. So just load it up, give the bottle a really good shake. It's essential to put a shaker ball in there because it does settle over time. It is essentially thinned enamel paint with, I'm going to guess, a drying aid in there because it does dry pretty quick. We're using it over a lacquer paint, so there's no issues there at all, using opposing paints. Once you're happy, pop it down, leave it to one side. We're now going to add some to one of the UMP's paint cups, and we're going to mix a little bit of black of it to get a nice dark grey. So 1 bit of black, it goes darker. 2 bits of black, it goes darker again. 3 bits of black, and there we go, perfect colour. We've got a nice dark grey colour. What we're going to do, we're going to highlight all the creases and recesses in the leather. Then once it's dry, we can remove the excess, and it'll just add a bit of depth and a bit of interest to the interior. Again, it doesn't really matter how much you put down because it will come off and it won't really affect the paintwork at all as long as you're gentle. So every recessed area we want to add this. Like I say, we'll leave it to dry. It takes about half an hour to dry, but I think I left this overnight. There's no problem getting it back off at all. Just take your time, work your way around and get all those recessed areas done. It does add quite a bit of depth to it, so it's well worth doing. Sadly, the panel line washes are a bit of a nightmare to get in the UK, so you end up having to order them from overseas a lot of the time, but they are worth the trouble of getting for sure. You can use an oil wash should you wish as well, but for me, the panel line washes as a convenience product are nice and simple to use. Same with our seats, we just apply it all over the seats in those recesses. As you can see, carries the wash really well. Capillary reaction does most of the job on this. Because the Zero paint is a satin paint, it's not matte, it does flow quite well on them. You don't need to gloss for it regardless of what people say. If you're using opposing paints on each other, you shouldn't have any issues at all. So you can use enamel on acrylic, lacquer on acrylic, the other way around, etc. As long as you're not using acrylic wash on acrylic, because you'll never get that back off, you'll be just fine. So there we go. Following morning, everything is dry. Our flocking's dry. Our enamel wash is dry. We've got some odourless mineral spirits, Sans Soda from Winsor & Newton there. We're going to put some on a cotton bud. We'll dab off the excess. And then we'll come in and remove it. And there you go. We just dab off the excess. You don't need a lot of this. You'll see how wet it is when it goes down now. There you go. We don't need a lot of pressure. But we are going to get right into those creases. We'd like to leave behind as little of the wash as we can. It's a case of just going around, rubbing it off as much as possible. And then we'll spin the cotton bud round and remove any that was left behind. There we go, we've spun it round. You might have to repeat this several times. And you've got to do it to the whole areas you put the the enamel wash down. But there we go. And again, on the front seat, use the wet part first. You can see how shiny the seat has got. Now, the other plus point of using this, because we're using it on a clear part, using it on a satin part, it will ever so slightly stain the red a little bit and darken it a touch. And again, it adds a little bit of depth. Not a lot. I don't think it's really that noticeable. But I am convinced that it does darken it just a touch in places. And if you've ever had a leather car, you'll know, especially if it's a red or blue or grey leather, it does wear over time. Black doesn't seem to wear as much in my opinion. But you can see the wear and tear on the coloured leather parts. So, all the wash removed, all the dashboards removed. We need to glue the upper part of the dashboard to the lower. We'll just remove any white tack from painting we've left behind. Not that it's in the way, but just me being meticulous getting it all off. So a couple of locating points for the dashboard top, one in the middle and one at the sides, just to apply a little bit of CA glue. taking our time to get it on our fingers. We don't want to get stuck to it. We don't want to get glue all over our nice freshly painted parts. Like so. Orientate it all the right way. Follow the locating points. Pop it in place. Once you've got it where you want it, hold for a second or two. Have a look, make sure it's all in the right place. Move it if you need to. There we go. And then we've got our steering column in and our steering wheel on top. There's no BMW logo in the decals of the car, so I'm going to have a look around through my spares and see if I can find a tiny BMW logo to pop in there. But we'll have to do that in the next part because we ran out of time today. Door card handles are here now as well. A little bit of CA glue at the front, a dab at the back on the part, pop it in place. And there we go, there's one in place. Same on the other side, glued on the front, dab on the back, push it home. And again, there we go. We're going to hand paint our gear stick. So we painted the red, we applied our wash to it, and then we're coming with the black. This is Vallejo model colour black, thinned with a touch of water, and dries very quick, nice and easy. We've got our Loctite Perfect pen. We've got our seats. We're going to apply generous amounts at the front and at the side. If you've got any flocking that's in the way of anywhere of locating points like this, just scrape it out. I'm using my tweezers. You can use whatever tool you've got, cocktail stick, whatever. And it's a case of lining the seats up with their locating points. Pop them in, hold them for a second. Let the glue take hold. Does give you a bit of leeway, this glue, to move things around. It's pretty good glue, one of my go-tos. You can get this on Amazon or from any craft shop or anywhere that sells it, eBay, etc. It's good stuff. You don't get a lot for the money, but just in that applicator, it's perfect. It's a nice thick gel as well. And there we go, there's our seats in place. Interior's starting to come together now. Our gear stick's in as well, our handbrake lever's in. Our dashboard's already glued together. We're going to test fit it, make sure it all locates where it should. Not only does it locate on the floor, it locates on the centre console and on the two sides at the top. There we go, looks alright to me, so we'll pop that back off. Put a couple of spots of CA glue where it sits on the side. And then we can slot it back home, line it up as we did before, and then push it fully in place. And there we go. I don't think it looks too bad. The flocking, like I say, isn't the best because it's quite awkward to paint in there. But I think the two contrasting colours go well together. The red leather looks good. As you can see, we've got a nice bit of sheen on there. Dashboard looks okay for what we got. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It could have been better. It could have been a lot worse. There's still a little bit of excess wash to remove, but we'll let it all fully dry and then we'll come back afresh next time. We'll get there with a pointed cotton bud and get rid of all those excess little bits that aren't quite right. But yeah, I'm happy with that. The wash really does accentuate it well. So while we're here, we might as well attach it to the chassis. 4 locating points, put a generous amount of CA glue in here, and then 4 locating points just line up. So if you can't do it straight away, lift it off, have a look where they are, get one side in, and then push it over. Once you're happy, again, hold it for a few seconds. Make sure the CA glue gets a hold of it. And there we go, glued in place. Happy with that. Now, word of warning, if you're using plastic tubs or compartment drawers like I do, don't put any freshly painted CA glue parts in there with your body because it will haze up any fingerprints that are on your body. I found this out the hard way. It's an old school way of doing fingerprints, I believe. I couldn't resist putting the body on to have a little test and see how it looked, and that red contrasts really well. The wheels look fantastic. They sit nice in those arches as well. They really do look the part. I'm so glad we went with the lowered suspension. And a big shout out to Trevor as well, if he's watching. He contacted me about the part I had to steal from my motorsport kit. He has them and he's going to send me them. So thank you very much, Trevor. Much appreciated, buddy. You saved my other kit. And I think this looks phenomenal lowered. It really does. A couple of pictures. As you can see, it sits well in those arches. Those big 18-inch Alpina rims look good. Our interior looks good. It contrasts really well with the silver. Like I said, we've got a little bit more wash to remove, which we'll do for next time. Engine compartment's looking good. Happy how this is turning out. So one last part and we can finish this project off. There we go then. So I'm happy with that. Like I say, the flocking embossing powder on those kits where the cockpit, the interior tub, I keep calling them cockpits, it's a habit, I can't help it. Where the door cards are pre-moulded, they're difficult to paint, they're a bit of a pain, and it makes it a bit more challenging to do, but I think we did okay. I think we need to try a few other methods of applying the flock. So I'm going to test some spoons one day. We'll paint them in black, I think, and we'll try PVA glue, we'll try a clear varnish, and see if we find any other mediums to try with her as well, and just see what gives the best result. If we can use a clear varnish, overall it'd be better, because then we don't need to pick the specific colour to use with the flock, and that would make life a little bit easier. I've already invested in the colours anyway, so I've already got them, but I think it's something we need to try, just see if we get a better finish. Admittedly, the actual proper flock material does look better. 100% does look better. But it makes far too much mess. It really does. It gets everywhere. It's in the room. It lingers in the air. The last time I used it, I found it in clear coats I was doing, in 2K clear coats, for months afterwards. It just lingers around the room. Even freshly hoovered, even when I've done it out the room, and I didn't even do it, I got Hannah to do it for me. I watered through it, so I didn't touch it at all. It still ended up back in here, and it's just a nightmare. Even to this day, I still find it here and there, and dust and what have you. So yeah, the embossing powder is the better way for me. So yeah, maybe we'll try a few different ways of applying it. But overall, very happy the interior came out. Glad we found this red. I just really wish I found that red for the 9.5 now, but it is what it is. So yeah, moving on now. We've got one last part to do. What we're going to do is flat and polish all the bodywork, all the glassware to do, which we've already painted the lights. So we're going to bare metal foil those. I think we're going to stick to doing that because it looks really good in my opinion. We've got the bumpers to assemble. We've got some masking to do on the bumpers because we're going to go with the shadow line look on this. We're not going to have any chrome on it. BMW did a shadow line package, which was basically a chrome delete on the car, and I think it's going to look better. I think it kind of adds to the look of the car a little bit. So yeah, that's the way to go, I think. So part 4, hopefully, who knows, by the end of the week, the weekend. It is Monday the 11th today. It's exactly 1 PM in the afternoon. This video will be up today. So yeah, maybe we'll crack on with it, and maybe we'll get it done by the end of the week. I'm very excited about my next projects, but we'll chat about them in the bench update next time when this is done. There we are. So thanks for watching today. If you've got any comments, thoughts or questions, pop them down below in all the comments. I need to go through and reply to everybody again. Some of the comments you leave are fantastic. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate everyone that follows the channel, the Facebook page, the forum, UMP, everything. All your support across the board is amazing. We passed 50,000 subscribers. We're nearly at 19,000 Facebook followers. So yeah, it's on the up and up, and I really do appreciate everyone that leaves a comment, and the very, very kind comments as well. Yeah, I do appreciate. I read every. You might not think I might be saying, "Oh, I was just saying that." I do. Every single comment comes straight through to my. I'll show you even now. There you go. My YouTube app on my phone. It comes straight through. They're all in chronological order, and I do appreciate and read every single comment. I do, and I will reply to you all as well. So thank you very much for those who are following and support. I'm very, very excited about the next one we're going to do. Yeah, but we'll chat about that in the bench update, so stay tuned for that one. Thanks for watching today. As always, check out International Scale Model Facebook page and forum, umpretail.com, the Live at the Bench page for live show news, Off Air Hangout group to join our Off Air Hangouts. Check out my Paul ISM Facebook page and Instagram page where all my personal modelling work and purchases and sales, everything goes on there. And of course, check out the International Scale Modeler group builds page now as well. It's a group actually. We've put alongside ISM to host all our group builds we've got planned for the year. I went through those in my last bench update. So yeah, we started a group. We had to close it because it was a private group and we'll set it to public. So if you want to come and join that, come on over and join again. The links are all in the description down below. And yeah, so thanks for watching today. I will catch you all in part 4. Stay safe, be careful, don't do anything daft, stay at home, and I will catch you all later. Take care everyone, bye bye.